Good morning to all of you. One thing I like to know, do you really attend these classes, or you are attending only for percentage? Be careful because we are discussing most vital things which are directly related to final exam, biology examination and clinical examination. So whatever I do discuss, I think in the examination we will ask almost same things. However, uh, today's topic is ocular trauma or ocular traumatology. You know, this is an era of high-speed traffic and industrialization, and we are getting urbanized day by day. Our lifestyle is also modified day of mechanization. So naturally, we as a whole are vulnerable to external violence or external trauma. Naturally, our eyes are not exempted. You know that all the organs of our body are somehow covered by skin, muscle, and bone, except the front part of both eyes. The front part of both eyes are uncovered. Because why it is uncovered? Because for the purpose of vision. If it remains covered, we can't see anything. So Almighty um, has given us this opportunity to see this beautiful world with these eyes. Simultaneously, so our eyes are vulnerable to external trauma. Simultaneously, we have been provided with some protective mechanisms. So first of all, we have to know how our eyes are protected because front part of the eyes are exposed to environment. Naturally, we are provided with some protective mechanism. What are those? Number one, you know that our orbital margin is raised or elevated or projected. This raised orbital margin provides some protection against external injury. Number one. Number two, our nose also provides some protections because nose is projected forward. So if there is any trauma, the delicate soft structure of the eye is less injured because it is shock is absorbed by projecting part of the nose. Number three, blinking eyelid. You know, whenever we face any uh, fearful object in front before our eyes are automatically blinking. Normally, the blinking rate is 15 per minute. So whenever you face or encounter any um dangerous object, or when you are feeling some dangerous object or fearful object is coming before your eyes, automatically, spontaneously, you will close your eyes. It is occurring involuntarily. So blinking mechanism also gives protection to the eye. And another important things, behind the eyeball, there is collection of fat, which is acting as a cushion. It is just like the sofa set, sofa, form of the sofa. If you sit suddenly on the sofa without form, you will get some pain. If there is any sofa, it will give some comfort. It will prevent you from having some painful events. So naturally, behind the eyeball, there is collection of fat. So as soon as eye is traumatized, especially blunt trauma, the collection of fat acting as a cushion. It absorbs violent trauma or shock of the trauma. But it has got certain limit. Beyond certain limit, it can't do anything. So these are the protective mechanism that has been provided in order to prevent the eyes from having external trauma. Now we have to be acquainted with the with some new terminologies related to ocular trauma. We must know, probably I also discussed in my class, but now I am repeating. There are two terms like closed globe injury and open globe injury. There are two terminologies: closed globe injury and open globe injury. Closed globe injury means our eyeball, it is just like a football, mini football. Our eyeball is intake due to trauma. Due to trauma, eyeball is intake. Eye wall of the eye is intake or partially injured. There is no full thickness injury, but there is massive intraocular damage. It is called closed globe injury. And another term is open globe injury. That is our eyeball or globe is injured. There is full thickness injury as well as there is some intraocular damage. So I want to give some example of closed globe injury. Closed globe injury, already I told you the eyeball is intact, but there is intraocular damage. As for example, if there is any superficial abrasion of the cornea, superficial injury of the sclera, that is following contusion, or superficial corneal foreign body, superficial conjunctival foreign body, or scleral foreign body. In that cases, um, you see that eye globe is intact. Eye globe is remains unaffected. If there is any severe injury, it may be that the partial thickness injury is there. This is called closed globe injury. And another term I told, open globe injury. Open globe injury means wall of the eyeball is not intact. There is full thickness injury. As for example, penetrating injury, perforating injury, and rupture of the globe. There are three things: penetrating injury, perforating injury, and rupture of the globe. In case of penetrating injury and perforating injury, what's the difference? Some examiner may ask, what's the difference? In case of penetrating injury, only there is empty. There is empty caused by sharp object or sharp weapon. In case of perforating injury, there is entry as well as exit. There is double perforation, entry as well as exit. So open globe injury, there is a rupture. Another term is rupture. Rupture, the eyeball is just like a football. There is some substance inside the eyeball, that is lens, vitreous, retina, uveal tissue, aqueous humor, and it has got certain pressure. And when I receive any forceful blunt trauma, there is severe rise of intraocular pressure. As a result, eyeball will get rupture. And in that cases, you will see the force of injury from inside out. Because, because of following severe trauma, the intraocular pressure will build up. Intraocular pressure will rise. And when the eyeball cannot withstand this high pressure, it will get ruptured. So direction of injury from inside outside. And in case of penetrating injury, you see In case of penetrating injury, the direction of injury from outside inside. In case of perforating injury, same things from outside inside. And in case of severe blunt trauma, there is massive rise of intraocular pressure. Severe pressure will be built up inside the eyeball, and ultimately eyeball will get ruptured when there is too much pressure inside the eyeball and due to violent trauma. So these are the classification of mechanical trauma. Mechanical trauma, closed group and open group. In case of closed group, superficial corneal foreign body, superficial conjunctival foreign body, scleral foreign body, abrasion, and partial thickness injury of the wall of the eyeball. But eyeball is intact. Eyeball is intact, but there is severe intraocular damage. And open globe, penetrating, perforating injury, and rupture of the globe. In the examination, don't say rupture. Rupture means it means another things. Rupture means um, excited due to excessive joy or due to excessive happiness. It is rupture. R-U-P-T-U-R-E. And R-A-P-T-U-R-E. Rapture means when a person is too much excited due to excessive happiness. It is another things. Some students answer like this. So be careful in answering this question. Now let me talk about classification of ocular injury. Classification of ocular injury. Or otherwise you can say cause of ocular injury. Cause of ocular injury, first one, mechanical trauma. Mechanical trauma that I talk right time this time. Mechanical trauma, closed group injury, and open group injury. These are all caused by mechanical trauma. Second one is chemical injury. Chemical injury also very important, and it is commonly encountered in our day-to-day practice. Chemical injury, there is um, chemical, maybe acid or alkali. Acid or alkali. Third one, heat and radiation. Heat means hot liquid, hot fluid, fire, electrical injury, and radiation injury. Radiation injury, suppose I am having a tumor over there, and I have been, the oncologist contemplated to apply radiation over this tumor. In that cases, my eyes may be affected. The surrounding structure will be affected due to radiation. And that's why during application of radiotherapy nearby to the eyes, we apply shield to offer protection to the cornea and eye. So if we summarize the cause of ocular injury, I can say mechanical trauma, chemical, that is mainly acid and alkali, and heat, electrical, and radiation. Heat may be fire or fluid, hot fluid, fire on hot fluid. Now there is one important question. It is important both for written as well as viva. Suppose a patient received a blunt trauma over the right eye or over the left eye. What will be the consequence? Is most important, right? Note down. Is most important both for written and viva. A patient received blunt trauma over the right eye or left eye. What will be the consequence? তো প্রশ্নটা কি হবে? Aftermath of blunt trauma over the eye. Aftermath or after effect or consequence of blunt trauma over the eye. The most important in the examination, we may not ask anything except this one. Okay, write down. You start from superficial to deep. Blunt trauma, as for example, if you are assaulted by a blunt object or history of fall of any cricket ball over your right eye or any cork during the play of badminton cork, cricket ball mainly, or any stone that has been pelted by somebody else from a distance, or any trauma by the blunt object. So write down one by one. You start. First of all, you know that already I told you that eyeballs are saved or protected by the raised orbital margin. So if the trauma is very violent, very severe, what will happen? There will be fracture of the orbit. You write down number one, orbital fracture. Orbital fracture. In orbital fracture, what happens? Due to any blunt trauma, intraorbital, not intraocular, intraorbital pressure will rise and the wall of the orbit is fractured. Wall of the orbit will be fractured because of high momentary rise of intraorbital pressure. Don't say intraocular pressure, intraorbital pressure. That is, pressure is built up inside the orbit because due to blunt object, the front part is closed and there is no way out of entrapped air or and and the orbital margin will be traumatized fast. And due to sudden rise of orbital pressure, not ocular pressure, orbital pressure, the wall of the orbit will be fractured. You know that wall of the orbit, roof, floor, medial wall, and lateral wall, these are formed by several bones. These are bones are very thin. Bones are very thin, and there will be crack or fracture. Number one. Number two, you write down there is hematoma of the eyelid. Hematoma of the eyelid or ecchymosis. The eyelid may be lacerated. Some portion of the eyelid may be torn. Then come to the conjunctiva. In conjunctiva, conjunctival hemorrhage, conjunctival laceration, conjunctiva will be injured. Then you come to cornea. Corneal abrasion, the, the sclera will be abraded, scleral injury. And if the injury is not so severe, there and so long eyeball remains intact, there is no rupture. What will happen in the anterior chamber? Just you see, I am going from superficial to deep. In the examination, don't get haphazard. Sometime beta, sometime lens, then orbit, then lid. You start from superficial to deep serially. Then examiner will be pleased with you. Then you come to anterior chamber. In the anterior chamber, due to trauma, there may be a collection of blood, hypema. Collection of blood in the hypema. Then you come to the iris. You know, due to trauma, the pupil is dilated. It is called traumatic mydriasis. Traumatic mydriasis. Due to trauma, pupil is dilated. And one important thing is that if you put atropine, the pupil will be dilated. But when the action of drug will disappear, pupil will get normal size. But in case of traumatic mydriasis, you know, around the pupillary margin, there is a sphincter. This sphincter will be damaged, and this dilatation or this mydriasis is almost permanent. Once it is dilated, it does not return to normal size. But drug-induced mydriasis is reversible when the action of the drug will be finished. When action of the drug will wane off. You see, the size of the pupil will get normal size. But in case of traumatic, due to trauma, in case of mydriasis caused by the trauma, This mydriasis is almost permanent because around the pupillary margin there is a sphincter. There is sphincter. You can say just like the string of the pajama or string of the pajama, or once it is excessively stretched, it does not return to normal situation. So it remains almost permanent. In the examination, we ask, in case of traumatic mediasis, what do you expect? In future, it will get normal size or not? No, sir. The traumatic mediasis is almost permanent. It does not disappear. It does not get normal size due to trauma because sphincter of the pupil will be damaged. Sphincter of the pupil will be damaged. Then another things, due to trauma, you see, the root of the iris will be torn. Root of the iris will be detached, and there will be gap in the periphery. It is called iridodialysis. It is called iridodialysis. Another thing, the traumatic mediasis, it is called iridoplegia. 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 And sorry. Um, Iridodialysis means when root of the iris is detached from ciliary body, and then on examination you will find some gap in the periphery of the iris. This gap is just like the biconvex shape. It is called iridodialysis. Then in the pupil there are some other sign, antiflexion, retroflexion, but I am not overloading you with these minute details. These are meant for postgraduate students. So I am not going to discuss these things in details. Then you go to lens. Just you see, I am going gradually from before backward, from superficial to deep. Behind the iris, there is a lens. What is the fate of our intraocular lens following blunt trauma? Fate key. Fate is, the answer will be like this, sir. If the trauma is mild, lens will remain in situ. Lens will remain in its own position, but it will get some lesion. What is those? There may be cataract. It is called rosette shaped cataract. Rosette means petal of a flower. It is just like the petal of a flower. If the trauma is mild enough, lens will not be dislocated or subluxated, but it will remain in its own position. But after a few days, you will see there is rosette-shaped cataract in the lens. So if on examination, if you find rosette-shaped cataracts, you can understand that probably he or she or patient got some trauma previously. It is the sign of previous trauma, sign of previous trauma. And the cataract is called rosette shape. Rosette means flower, the petal of a flower. Then among you, those who are good student, we want to give more marks. Then in that cases, we go into further details. Why it assume petal of a flower? Why it assume this configuration? Rosette shape. Why it is rosette shape? Answer will be due to trauma, there is accumulation of fluid. Due to trauma, there is accumulation of fluid in the lens fiber, and it will mark out or it will reveal the architectural pattern of lens fiber. That will be the answer. It is not meant for average student or backbencher. It is for those who expects good mark in the examination. Why rosette-shaped cataract is formed due to trauma? Why it assumed this configuration? Petal, just like the petal of a flower. Sir, due to following trauma, there is leakage of the lens capsule and there is accumulation of fluid in the lens fiber, and it reveals the architectural configuration of lens fiber. Lens fiber has got some definite arrangement because the lens is made by great architect, and there is some architectural pattern, and fluid will go along the direction of the lens fiber and assume the shape of petal of a flower. It is called rosette ship cataract. But after a pretty long time, this pattern does not persist. Lens becomes totally opaque. There is total cataract situation. Now, if the trauma is so severe, what will happen? Lens will be subluxated. Lens will be totally dislocated. Lens will be totally dislocated. It depends on severity of the trauma. If the trauma is so severe, the lens may be dislocated into posterior chamber, sorry, dislocated into vitreous, dislocated anteriorly, even lens may come into anterior chamber. Even so happens, due to violent trauma, the nucleus of the lens may come under the conjunctiva. Patient receiving severe trauma, on examination, you will see the nucleus of the lens is under the conjunctiva. You will be surprised, but no need to be surprised because this may so happen. We find several cases in our daily practice. Due to severe trauma, the nucleus is hard. It will come into anterior chamber and ultimately, through the rupture of the wall of the eyeball, it will come under the conjunctiva. Under the conjunctiva, just like a button, it remains under the conjunctiva. This happens, this condition will come when there is severe trauma. Occasionally, due to shortage of time, we don't ask what is the consequence of blunt trauma in the eye because it takes several minutes. So, due to shortage of time, then directly, occasionally, we ask what is the after effect of blunt trauma on the intraocular lens. Then you will say, you should answer, if the trauma is very mild, lens will remain in its position, but there is rosette ship cataract. And another things, due to blunt trauma, the pupillary margin will impinge or will touch anterior surface of the lens. Due to blunt trauma, the pupillary margin of the iris, pupil will impinge. Impinge means to get thrust or to get violent touch over the anterior surface of the lens. And you know that the pupilla in the iris there is pigment, and this pigment will be imprinted on the anterior surface of the lens in a circular fashion. It is called Bosseus ring. It is called Bosseus ring due to imprint of pupillary margin over the anterior surface of the lens due to blunt trauma. On a patient receiving a severe blunt trauma, the pupillary margin will impinge upon the anterior surface of the lens. Impinge means sudden touch or thrust, sudden push. The pupillary margin will touch the anterior surface of the lens, and pupil is circular in manner, and the pigments of the pupil will be imprinted on the anterior surface of the lens, and it remains so in the form of ring. It is called Bosseus ring. This is also uh, indicative of previous trauma. Indicative of previous trauma. And if the trauma is very severe, lens will be subluxated or dislocated. And in case of subluxation, if you examine with a torchlight or with a magnifying glass or slit lamp examination, you see lens is moving. Lens is moving. It is called phacodonesis. There is dancing or moving of the lens due to trauma is called phacodonesis. 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 Then you come to vitreous. In the vitreous, you will see there is vitreous detachment, vitreous hemorrhage. Then in the choroidal hemorrhage, choroidal tear or choroidal rupture, retinal hemorrhage, retinal detachment, retinal break, and in the optic nerve there is optic neuropathy or optic nerve avulsion. Avulsion means due to sudden trauma, the optic nerve fiber is torn. Optic nerve fiber is torn. So these are in short about the after effect of blunt trauma over the eye. And due to shortage of time, we rarely ask after effect of blunt trauma over the eye, or directly we go to the question that after blunt trauma, what will happen in the lens, what will happen in the retina. We specify the lesion, we specify the organ affected, what will be the following blunt trauma, what will be the after effect over the pupil, over the iris, or anterior chamber, the anterior chamber. So these are the after effect or aftermath or consequence of blunt trauma over the eye. So long I discuss blunt trauma. Then you come to penetrating trauma or perforating trauma. Penetrating, perforating, almost same. Penetrating one exit, one entry only. Perforating entry as well as exit. Foreign body enter into the eye and come out through another diagonally opposite sides. It's coming out. Now, in case of penetrating injury or perforating injury by sharp object, so what are the damage to the eye? How penetrating injury causes damage to the eye? You write down. How a penetrating injury damage to the eye. Number one, when a sharp object is pushing very forcefully, it causes mechanical damage of surrounding tissue. Number one, mechanical damage. Number one, mechanical. How in penetrating injury our eyes are affected? This is the headline. Number one, mechanical damage of surrounding tissue through its entry in penetrating injury by a sharp object. Mechanical damage. Number two, when the miscreant or your rival will injure you with some sharp object, this object is not sterile. This object is not sterile. It is infected. It is dirty. So there is every chance of introduction of infection. Number one, only the sharp object while going very forcefully, it causes ocular tissue damage. Number two, introduction of infection. Then after a few days, it causes uveitis. After a few days or after a few hours, it causes severe post-traumatic uveitis. Uveitis, the inflammation of the uveitis. Then another point, occasionally during injury, there might have some retained intraocular foreign body. The foreign body may retain inside the eye. And as per composition of the foreign body, there will be side effect to the surroundings. That is, if the foreign body is of iron, then after a few days, it causes side effect as per its composition. Iron causes damage to the epithelial tissue. It is called siderosis bulbi. Siderosis bulbi. If the foreign body is made of iron and if it is retained inside the eye for a pretty long time, these iron materials will causes extensive damage of epithelial tissue and give rise to a situation. It is called siderosis bulbi. Siderosis bulbi. If the foreign body is of copper, or if the composition of the foreign body is copper, you understand my point? Previously, if the foreign body is, if the composition of the foreign body is iron, it causes siderosis bulbi. If the composition of the foreign body is copper, it is called chalcosis. It is called chalcosis. 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 Chalcosis, it causes endophthalmitis, cataract, sunflower cataract. It causes sunflower cataract. And in the cornea, you will find, uh, in the cornea, there is a ring. It is called KF ring, Kaiser-Fleischer ring. Kaiser-Fleischer ring. So these are the answer how penetrating injury or retained corneal foreign body causes damage to the eye. Number one, mechanical damage because it is going very forcefully and surrounding tissue will be damaged. Number two, introduction of infection because this object is not sterile. You are not beaten by the surgeon in the OT. That instrument is sterile. You won't have any infection because you will be injured or you will be assaulted by the miscreant, and the object or weapon used is not sterile. It is dirty. It is unsterile. So there is a chance of introduction of infection inside the eye. Number three, the side effect according to the composition of the foreign body. If the foreign body is iron made or the composition of the foreign body is iron, it causes siderosis bulbi. If the foreign body is copper in origin, it is causes chalcosis and it also causes uveitis. Penetrating injury, um, actually, penetrating injury occasionally causes an interesting disease or interesting situation. It is called sympathetic ophthalmitis. Actually, long ago, it was very much common. Now it is almost rare, almost rare. So you can say this situation following penetrating trauma, it causes sympathetic ophthalmitis. It is a time-honored situation following penetrative trauma, and that's why till now, though its incidence is very very rare, but examiner find pleasure in asking question about sympathetic ophthalmitis. So you must have some idea about it. Sympathetic ophthalmitis, just you listen to me. Suppose a patient is having penetrating trauma. After 4 to 8 weeks, there will be bilateral granulomatous uveitis. There is this affected eye is called excited eye and normal eye is called sympathizing eye. Suppose you are staying at Nepal, you are staying at UK or USA, and suddenly you have heard that your brother is sick or your brother is no more, then you will weep, you will cry. Why? It is due to sympathy, though you are staying much away from each other. Similarly, though right eye is affected or left eye is affected, but normal eye is also affected simultaneously. It is called sympathetic uveitis or sympathetic ophthalmitis. Just you listen to me. Suppose a patient receive penetrating trauma, not blunt trauma. A patient receiving penetrating trauma after 4 to 8 weeks, there will be bilateral uveitis. Normal eye will also be affected. There are some other theory why normal eye is affected, but I am not going into details about it. It is called sympathetic ophthalmitis. So you will define it is a rare bilateral granulomatous panuveitis occurring following penetrating trauma in one eye. This injured eye is called exciting eye, and normal other eye is called sympathizing eye. It is called sympathizing eye. Nowadays, why it is very rare? Because once upon a time it was very much common. Nowadays, it is very rare because uh, with the discovery of modern microscope, with the availability of modern microsurgical instruments, with the discovery or invention of good antibiotic or steroid, this incident is very rare because following penetrating trauma, previously we did not have proper microscope, proper microsurgical instruments, so we could not repair properly. Nowadays, it is easily repairable. We are using very fine 10-0 suture materials. We are using microscope. So surgical toiletries and cleanliness is very proper, and that's why it is very rare. That's why it is very rare. One important thing is it is very common in children, but one you must remember always it occurs following penetrating injury. Very occasionally after cataract surgery, after laser therapy, and it is common in boys. Why it is common in boys? Probably that the boys are playing outside the house very frequently. The female counterpart, probably they are mostly housebound. They are less vulnerable to injury. And one important thing, the penetrating injury must be around periphery of the cornea, periphery of the cornea. And I got two or one cases long ago. A boy of 20 years old, he received blunt penetrating injury on the right eye. The other eye got uveitis, sympathetic uveitis. And nowadays it is very rare. And one happy news is that if a patient receiving penetrating injury and if the affected eye is suppurated or there is purulent infection, the chance of sympathetic ophthalmitis is nil. So if the patient is having penetrating injury and it is suppurated or infected or purulent infection, you must be satisfied or you must be self-contented that other eye will not be affected. Because after suppuration, there is no chance of sympathetic ophthalmitis. And the treatment, proper repair, surgical toileting, cleanliness, use of antibiotic, and even systemic steroid must be given. Another things, if the affected eye is having no useful vision and there is every chance of sympathetic ophthalmitis, then what we do? We inoculate, we remove the eye. We remove the eye. These are all about ocular trauma. Another things, chemical injury is important. Chemical injury, either acid or alkali, because domestic detergents that we use to clean the hourglass table and dining table, this may fall on your eyes. You might have some chemical injury. Or those who are working in the industry, those who are working in the workshop, they are vulnerable to injured by acid or alkali. And among domestic offending substance that causes alkali injury is lime that we take with a betel nut. Lime, chun, lime, lime. So one important thing is that as soon as you get a patient having history of chemical injury, don't try to discriminate whether acid or alkali. Immediate treatment, you should start treatment immediately with extensive uh, irrigation or wash with available water. In the examination, you answer, sir, I have to wash with saline, I have to wash with others. Suppose you are in the rural area, in the village area. So it's very difficult to find saline. And if you get it, you will get it after 1 or 2 hours. By this time, there will be extensive damage. So you must wash the eyes or copious irrigation of eyes with available water. Any water in the tap, in the pond, or in the pail, any water you can use to irrigate or to extensively wash clean it. Then you will apply local antibiotic, local steroid, local atropine, and refer to the higher center to an ophthalmologist. And one thing, in case of now there is a question: the alkali burn is dangerous or acid burn is dangerous? Sir, comparatively, alkali burn is dangerous because it does not cause severe sign symptoms but causes maximum damage. Number one. Number two, it causes cell membrane destruction. So there is deeper penetration and the saponification of cell membrane. So the alkali will enter the eye very rapidly. On the side by side, in case of acid injury or injury caused by acid, it causes immediate damage. Then it causes coagulation of protein, forming a barrier, so further penetration of acid is prevented. Now, question arises: why the muscle man or skin, if the alkali burn is dangerous than acid burn? Actually, comparatively, it is dangerous. Comparatively, it is dangerous. So why Miskian use acid rather than alkali? Because acid causes immediate damage, and his intention it is to disfigure the beauty of the person concerned. Mostly female are the victim of this vitriolage or acid throwing, but nowadays the male are not exempted. Then the main intention or motive is to destroy or disfigure the beautiness of the person concerned. So whatever acid or alkali injury, it does not matter. Immediately copious irrigation with available water. Available water. And the complication of chemical injury is dry eye because all the glands of the eyes will be affected, will be damaged. So secretion will be reduced or absent. There is a dry eye. Occasionally there is adhesion of both eyelid. It's called symblepharon or ankylobepharon. The lid margin will be adherent with the eyeball. Symblepharon. Two lid margin may be adherent. It is called ankylobepharon. So management is of crucial importance. Crucial importance. Another thing is in acid and alkali, because early stage there is severe inflammation. So you must instill local steroid. Second week there is a stage of repair. So during the time of repair, steroids should not be given. Again, from the third week, you have to restart local steroid because in the third week there is a phase of fibrosis. You must remember, first week you must give steroid. Second week you must stop it because this is a stage of repair. And third week you have to restart steroid. So these are all about ocular injury. Another things you can mention, there is psychological ocular injury, psychological trauma, because we get trauma not only by physical assault, but also mental trauma is important. If you make a harsh comment on me, you are not assaulting me, but please, বন্ধ হয়ে গেছে নাকি? Last of all, you will say, not first, last of all, due to psychological trauma, there is a hysterical blindness and also malingering. These are resulted from psychological trauma. These are in short about ocular injury, ocular trauma. Wish you good luck. I don't know. I do have any other class ahead. If I do have, then I will take classes. Otherwise, wish you good luck until I meet you in the final examination. Thank you.